The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys.
We're back.
It's been a really long 2 weeks.
Well, for you and I, for the last time we recorded, it's almost been 3 weeks.
I've been celebrating my birthday since August 11th until literally this past Saturday.
Yep, you sure have. But that's the way it should be. It's your birthday month.
It's been a lot of long days.
A lot of drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot to catch up on, I guess. Let's start with your birthday surprise.
So, my girlfriend surprised me with brunch with my friends. Jonathan was there. Kiko was there. Our friend Trish was there. My girlfriend invited her friend Vic, which I love.
It was a blast.
And then we had a party, and I had to make it until 11 o'clock, and trust me.
Oh, yeah, because I told Sarah, I was like, hey, we have another surprise later planned for you. You can drink as much as you want because it's your birthday, but we're not going out till like midnight.
And then I was like, oh,
and
okay.
it's kind of far away. Like, we have to drive.
I'll cut myself off right now.
So then we got super drunk on tequila, and then we went laser tagging, which I would highly encourage to anybody because it was a blast. And Sarah low-key, high-key kicked fucking ass.
I won out of the group.
You did. We were kind of in the middle of, not in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's shit that's around there, but it's not somewhere that I frequent. The people who went there, I feel like they all, like, that was like their Friday night.
They go there like all the time.
Or Saturday. It was a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell it was like, and it was like a mix of ages. There was like college kids, younger kids, parents, and it was like literally like I thought it was just going to be us, like however many of us there were,
same.
like 10.
There was like 40.
There was 45 people in this game, and we were trashed and everybody else was not, and I think they could definitely tell.
They could tell. And then so the next day I went to the beach until the 16th, so I went from the 12th to the 16th. And then me and my girlfriend's birthday are a week apart, so we celebrated her birthday on the 20th. I surprised her with a trip to New York because her friends live there. We went to this place called the Color Factory, which I would recommend.
It's so Instagrammable.
Yeah, so it's Instagrammable and interactive.
Yeah, it looked really fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. And then
also, you've been in New York City more than you've been in Philly lately.
Oh my God, I've been in New York like 3 times.
Not only that, but it's like you're not there for a long time. You're there, and then you come back, and then you go back.
Yeah, what the fuck? So, and then we went out to dinner. This dinner was like $200.
Where was it at? Were you in Manhattan?
Yeah, it was this place called the Seafire Grill. Okay, so I only picked it because it had like filet mignon, shrimp, lobster, and crab. So I'm like, yes, I'm about to get a platter. This is how ratchet I am. Like, I thought I was gonna get a platter. I thought I was gonna be cracking shells in this restaurant. I hate
platter. Keep the platter at home.
I thought I was being cracking shells in this restaurant. They bring it out to a little ass plate with shit stacked on top of each other. God. I was real disappointed.
How come at restaurants
was $70?
Restaurants can be so fucking expensive, and they're just like, here's a fucking mint leaf with like a little dollop of goddamn maple syrup on the side.
Right? And
$48 for your salad.
Right. And Najee was fucking it up. She was like, this is so good. And I'm like,
she should. It's her birthday. Fucking live her life. Was that the place that has like, you have to cook the food?
No, that's oh my God, I really recommend Japanese barbecue. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
The day before.
Okay, do they give you like raw meat? How does that work?
Yeah,
I've never been.
We only paid $60 for all of that.
That was your table was covered.
Yeah,
in food.
In meat.
I love meat.
Yeah, so it's they start the grill up. It's raw and you cook it yourself, but it's like they make it so it's only like a 2-minute cook time, like a minute cook time. So it's like
do you have to like sign something? Because I have or maybe the meat grade is probably really good, but like you have to wonder like what happens when somebody gets food poisoning in a establishment like that where it's literally you cooking it. Like what do you do if you like it like raw? Because my cousin, he says it's disgusting. I'm a vegetarian, but he says he likes his meat if it's like still mooing. So basically like
he likes it bloody. Oh,
yeah,
I
like
well
throw it
done.
on the grill, 20 seconds one side, 20 seconds the other side at like 175 degrees and call it quits.
That's disgusting. Well, what I think they do is they pick meats that cook quick and they also cut it very thin.
Okay, that makes sense. But still, like there's citronella
Right.
or salmonella and everything.
I let that shit cook for like 5 minutes. I was like, overcook.
Yeah, no. Did they have seafood or was it just meat?
It was just meat. I think so. They have an a la carte menu from Monday to Thursday.
We just ate and I'm like feeling this. Like I kind of want to go.
I'm
change.
I'm selling it right now.
I had to change into sweatpants. All we ate was Panera.
I opened
and that was the
my
first thing I
pants.
did. You did. Your pants are unzipped right now.
I was supposed to like dress sexy for my girlfriend tonight. Not happening because I feel like, no. I feel disgusting.
No, I feel you. I feel like fucking HR puffing stuff. If you don't know who that is, Google it because this bitch, that's me right now.
HR
Puffin stuff. Did you ever see that show?
We're like really far away.
I know. We've never really sat like this before. I think we didn't podcast for like 2 weeks and we forgot how to do it.
Yeah.
You're at the other end of that table. I feel like that scene in Shrek when they're at like the long table.
Okay. Did you see the Shrek post I made? Why didn't no one DM me and said it was funny? And I was kind of upset.
What was it on?
It was like the swamps in New Jersey, and I put like a Shrek reference.
Oh,
and no one DM'd me, and I was really upset. I was like, "Wow, this was a good one," and no one said anything to me.
I chuckled. I'm sorry. I
Chuckle in my DMs, bitch.
I'm sorry. I should have. Why are we sitting like this? Are you comfortable?
I mean, this is fine.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So that was Monday. So then Tuesday I had off, and then Wednesday I went to New York, and then Saturday I went to New York for Afropunk. I have some mixed reviews about it.
What was the music good?
So the lineup was great. I saw Lion Babe, The Internet,
I saw
Her, I seen.
No, I saw on your.
Oh yeah, and I saw Her, Smino, and then I went for Kate Renata, but I had to leave.
You saw her?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know that.
She was really great.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that video didn't post.
Oh, okay.
And
that explains it.
Yep. And I was supposed to see Kate Renata, and I had to leave because my phone was on 19%. I spent $75 alone on water.
That is.
They were supposed to have these like water stations, and we couldn't find it. You couldn't move in the venue anywhere.
Oh no! Really? Because I saw some pictures from this girl that I follow, and maybe she just got there really early, but she was there the day that you were there, and it wasn't that crowded.
Was it? She was probably by the green stage. The green stage
That's
was like
probably
the big
true.
area, and it was all grass.
Yeah.
And
right. Oh yeah, that's definitely where she was.
So me and my girlfriend's phone, we were both on 19%, and like we didn't know if our phone died, like we wouldn't be able to get an Uber, we wouldn't be able to get. Like,
oh yeah, because they didn't
Subway.
have charging stations anywhere.
Yeah, and they were supposed to, and it's just like I know that like you're at a concert, you shouldn't really be on your phone, but like my phone's not gonna last. We got there at 2, and it was like 10 o'clock.
Well, you got there at 2, but you still got the last time you charged your phone because you're
out
working your way through New York.
Exactly. So I feel like either way they should have had something.
I don't know. I feel like places really don't do that, do they?
Like,
I don't know the last
true.
big show that I went to. I couldn't even fucking tell you what it was. I think Beyonce when she was at
yeah, but that's
Made
like
in America.
I feel like a festival you should have like someone that's going to be there all day because these people are relying on their phones for transportation.
Dude, festivals, those things, fuck. I don't even know if I could hang at a festival anymore. And it's
not almost passed out like 4 times.
I'm telling you, I waited all fucking night to see Beyonce, and we were like
dead by then.
Oh my! I was so hungover. I couldn't. I remember I was leaning on a tree and I could barely see the stage. And I was like, honestly, like this is just how it is. Like I can't do it
anymore.
because I had so I wanted to save my money, and they have like the pounders for beer because that's all they sell, and those were maybe $14
Yeah.
for like
Ridiculous.
a total of maybe 2.5 actual cans of beer in one can. And then I was like, well, fuck, I'd rather spend my money and get my caloric intake on beer than, and I was underage at the time too.
Oh shit.
I don't condone that, but also do you? And so I was like, well, I'm not going to waste money on food, which was a fucking bad idea. Also, we pre-gamed 10 o'clock in the morning, and my friend, who shall not be named, but
Recipe for disaster.
you know who you are, spilled blueberry Bacardi on me on the bus, and everyone on the bus was like, what the fuck? Why does it smell like a salty-ass Pop-Tart?
Salty-ass Pop-Tart.
That's what they tasted like. It was like a salty alcoholic Pop-Tart.
Ew.
Blueberry Bacardi. Don't do it.
I don't ever want to think about the taste of cheap ass vodka. I don't like vodka anyway.
I've just started liking vodka. You already know about my alcohol poisoning. If you don't, please refer to whatever episode that was. I think it was the last one, 49 maybe. 50?
Yeah.
Wait, what are we on? We're on 50. Is this episode 50?
It's 49.
No, it's
50.
episode 50. Hey, guys.
Last time was 49. Hey, we have a podcast.
Yeah. This is Esoteric Oddities. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Sarah. Did we do that? Nope.
No, I don't think we've done that in like a lot of episodes.
We're doing great,
so
guys.
You had an eventful... I mean, I had a eventful, but my shower broke.
Yeah.
It broke to the point that we couldn't turn it off, and it started filling up the tub and didn't know what to do.
That's scary.
We had to see... Oh, no. I guess we put it back, but there's a hole under that.
Oh,
See
really?
it? Yeah, there's a hole in there, and we had to like reach up and turn off the house water. And then we didn't have hot water because we accidentally turned off the pilot light in the
so
heater.
You couldn't flush your toilet.
Well, I don't think you could flush the toilet. No. Yeah, because the water was turned off.
Right.
And then
Crazy.
the pilot light was out. And when I was a kid, our neighbors... I just burped, I'm sorry. Our neighbors...
Not okay.
Our neighbor's house like blew up. So I've kind of been scared about having gas run in my house. Because when the pilot light goes out, if you like run the gas but it doesn't light, you're
It'll
not
light
supposed
on
to.
fire.
Yeah, because it's just a stream of gas running. So that freaked me out. So I was like, no, fuck it. So
Turn it off.
and then I had a bit of a rough week, to say the least. But I'm happy to have Sarah and friends like those of you who've reached out to me and who DM'd us on our podcast. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. You guys keep us going.
Yeah, for real. Like people I don't even know, or people that I kind of know that I've never met. We've had a couple of DMs. So thank you. I appreciate that. And through that, I was watching the Santa Clarita Diet. Have you seen?
Yeah, remember we talked about
Oh, yeah,
that?
you didn't see the second season, though. So it's got a lot of mixed reviews, and a lot of people think it's stupid, but I think it's like, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I thought it was pretty fast-paced. It was witty. It was kind of dumb. It was really campy. Like, it's supposed to be stupid.
Right. Like, what do you take from that title? Like, that it's going to be something serious?
It could literally, the Santa Clarita Diet, I feel like it would just be like what the cayenne pepper cleanse. Remember when people were doing that?
No, what is that?
Where you pretty much just put cayenne pepper on everything because it's good for your digestive tract or something. I don't know. I've heard that it's not awful for you, but you're not supposed to. I mean, like anything, you're not supposed to have it in excess. So I think if people are just like chugging cayenne pepper, like hot pepper sauce, just being like, "Am I skinny yet?" Literally me though.
Turmeric is good for you. Love that.
Sorry. Oh no, we're using straws. It's against the law.
This
Don't
is
call the
end
cops.
up in a turtle's nose.
I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah. Did you see that video of the turtle crying?
No,
he had
stop.
a video and he had a straw stuck in his nose, and they were trying to pull it out and they couldn't get it.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad. But while we're thanking people, thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you guys would like bonus episodes and extra content and hints at what our episodes are going to be hints about what our episodes are going to be about before they are out, go on over to patreon.com/esoteric oddities. If you are one of those Patreon supporters, did you just kiss the mic so gingerly? You really did. And you didn't know I was looking. All right, now it's weird.
I don't know what's going on. I've been up since 5:30 in the morning.
Oh my God, I was up at 5:32.
I've reached the stage where I'm just like, whatever works.
Whatever, wherever, we're meant to be together.
I'll be there and you'll be there.
But our new episode on Patreon is about BDSM, a serial killer I've never heard of, which I don't know how because it's pretty fucked up and lots of fucked up twists and turns. So patreon.com/esoteric oddities for just $5 or less or more. or more. But really quick, there was something that was in the news that I wanted to bring up.
Ooh, the news.
It says police made an astonishing discovery this morning while executing a search warrant at a residence of a Bloomington mortician. 218 embalmed human penises.
I love that.
Also, 218 is my lucky number. It's also my birthday.
See?
Authorities suspect 54-year-old Paul Houston, an employee of the McLean County Coroner's Office, of being implicated in an organ trafficking. Investigators say investigating several reports of missing organs and body parts. Dozens of police raided his residence this Monday morning, hoping to find evidence of his involvement in the crimes. Quote, there were shelves everywhere filled with hundreds of glass jars, each of them containing a penis floating in formalin. According to Ramirez, the accused rapidly confessed everything as soon as he was arrested. Quote, he explained in great detail how he had been cutting off dead men's genitals and collecting them for more than 10 years.
Well,
what are people going to do with it? Like put it on a keychain or something?
yeah.
That'd be cute. It turns out the story's not true.
Oh. Well, what really happened?
It's not true.
It's a
like
hoax.
It's one of those links that looks like it's from Fox News, but it's like Fox News dot something fake, but it like looks legit. But I bought it for a second, but then I was like, well, because think about it, any mortician or somebody who's involved with that could literally get away with that if they're the last person to touch the body. Nobody's gonna be looking at a dead man for his ding ding,
Right.
his wing wong. So you know that shit's happening. Like it's on the black market. It's money, honey.
Who wants a dead man's penis?
Someone who collects keychains.
It's not hard. You can't do anything with it.
You put it on a keychain. Remember that bar that we talked about that has the drink with the toe in it, and it's like a real human toe?
Yes. Where did they get those from? The toes.
I don't remember. We explained it in that episode, but that was
I
like
don't think
last
they do
year.
it anymore.
Yeah, they do.
They probably ran out of toes.
No, it's just one toe. You give it back. It's a communal toe.
That's disgusting.
It really
Look it
is.
up. The sour toe cocktail.
Yeah. Where is it? It's in like Switzerland, right?
Okay, this toe.
Yeah, it's like black in the toenail. Why
It
didn't
looks like it was ripped the fuck off.
Why
Okay?
didn't anybody clip it? Clip that toenail.
You got it from here because I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, it's like an old toe that people drink. Check it out. All right, so today's topic is family curses. Can I guess who yours is?
Yeah.
You did the Kennedy family curse.
Wow, it's because you saw it on my thing.
I did. You
That's
posted
not
it.
why I
You
didn't
posted
post
it.
it.
You posted it on your Instagram.
I know, but that's not like it was before. It was after that. Like it was a weird coincidence, and it's funny because I had a theory like, damn, now Jonathan's gonna know my thing.
Really? So you were just like watching a documentary about JFK?
And then, well, I was watching a documentary. I think it was like, I don't even know what it was.
All right, hit me with them facts. I know a little bit about it. I know they don't have good luck, obvi, but inform me.
So, this might be one of the most famous cursed families in history. I feel like I can't even say it now because you guessed it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let the part out.
The Kennedy curse has haunted the political empire of the Kennedys for some time. Some conspiracy-minded people believe the curse of the Kennedys was brought on by the eldest Kennedy, Joe, by selling his soul for power and reign for his family. So the Kennedy family came from descendants of Ireland, from Wexford. They climbed the ladder all the way to the White House, but not without several tragedies.
I bet.
The Kennedy curse originally comes from speculation and rumors built over the years because of the series of unfortunate tragedies to hit the very successful Irish Catholic family and the number of tragic young deaths the family has had to deal with. There is no real answer for the exact person who have caused the Kennedys to have a curse if it were to exist.
I feel like since they are so big and powerful, there have to be people like wishing ill will on them.
Exactly. Like that fucking couch I got.
Yeah, and like
that
Taylor
literally
Swift
haunts me every day that I walk past it.
Well, they put your wall together, kind of. Yeah, they put your wall together.
They did. As a powerful family, they could have made themselves an enemy or two. Many believe that Joe Kennedy, which was the father, brought the tragedy upon himself and his children by pushing them to succeed. Like, I'm not talking about, like, oh, you should want to do good in life. Like, he was like, like, you need to be the best.
My story's like that, too.
Like, and it creates a very toxic environment for children.
Especially if you're that big in the public eye.
Right. Joe Kennedy was the father of 9 children. Joe raised his children to believe that they were better than anyone else, and they had to win.
What a dick. Speaking of, clearly his dick worked.
At any cost.
Yeah, anytime, any cost. Dick me down. Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
His obsessive, driven ambition would influence the decisions of his children and the way they lived their lives.
This is what's wrong with so many people in power, is that I feel like to get, I don't want to generalize, but like when you look at the world powers and a lot, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of the people who have high power that are in this world.
Bad energy.
Yeah, but like they're a certain type of people who, you know, and it's like this in the work life too. Like maybe you know somebody at work who's high up in your.
Executives are fucking assholes.
Not all of them. You know, go some of, you know, but some people who make it really high up have that type of personality. And sometimes that type of personality is derived from, you know, possibly being a sociopath.
It's because that's what you have to do. Like,
yeah. That's what I'm saying.
If you work like a corporate job, you're like not allowed to express yourself.
Yeah, and your conscience is just like not there. Like what shoulder angel?
Right. So I feel like once you get to that point, you're already past the point of like morals.
Right. But we're generalizing. So we're just saying if you're listening to this, you're a CEO, you do you, like you're doing great.
Just don't be a dick. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, just don't be a dick.
I don't care who you are. Don't be a dick. Okay? Be nice to people.
Thank you. It's not that hard.
It's really not. The Kennedys themselves have never spoken much about the idea of a Kennedy family curse, but they are also a family known for their secrets. The full details of JFK's chronic back injuries and constant physical pain while he sat in the Oval Office only came out to the public in 2017.
Yeah, they hid a lot of that stuff. Like,
But like, why? Because it would make them look weak.
Yeah, like what was that president? For some reason, the name Jethro Tull just came into my head, but I know that's not a person. It's a band, and he wasn't a president. Okay, Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah.
FDR. That's him. He was only ever like photographed from the bust up. And what was that president they said was gay?
I had the best history teacher ever. I don't know if I think I talked about it before, but I had the best history teacher. He would have us copy the notes one week, like literally word for word, and then he would go over the exact thing he taught the next week. But I don't know why, like it was just so easy for me to like obtain information that way because I already had it written down.
Cute. I love that. It was James Buchanan Jr.
Ooh, gay man.
He was our 15th president and allegedly sucked some dick on the side of... Had some dick in his Oval Office.
I love that.
Oh my God.
His Oval Office being his asshole. Okay? Don't get it twisted.
Okay.
Oops.
I think that...
Was that too much?
No, I think the inference was there, but thank you for clarifying. For our older audience who we were trying to get that joke to fly under the radar, but now they know that I was...
You know that I'm just like that.
Yes. Referring to his anus. If you guys could give us 5 stars, that would help us out.
Thanks, guys. Senator Ted Kennedy did once question whether a curse actually did hang over all the Kennedys during his own testimony about the Chappaquiddick incident.
Yep.
In 1969, which we'll get to soon. I said it right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't fucking know.
So I have a little timeline of every single child.
You know I love a timeline.
So let's jump into that.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start with Rosemary. When it became clear that Rosemary was born mentally impaired, they suggested it was because of her mood swings, which I think is autism.
Yeah. Could be.
That Joe, the father, could not accept that he had been blessed with a less than perfect child.
Oh, Christ.
Without even consulting her mother, he submitted Rosemary to a lobotomy that went wrong.
That's so sad. That is so, like, how many...
Also, like, she's, like, young. You couldn't have just, like, wrote it out for a little while. Taught
if
her,
if you're a dickhead...
Well, he made it worse.
No shit. But also back then, like, they didn't give a fuck.
That's
like,
true.
The sanatoriums and
oh yeah,
like the mental hospitals were for people. It was just a place to make things easier for the family. That's why living conditions were so fucked up. That's why people got so abused there, is because
they didn't care.
People didn't give a fuck about them, and it's so fucked
they were
up.
like misfits.
If it was someone who was somewhere on the spectrum of autism, if it was any kind of mental health, if they were gay, if it was a disgrace to the family, it was just kind of like, oh, let's send them here and then we don't have to fucking talk about it because they're out there. Who knows what the fuck's going on with them?
Literally. So
let's lobotomize. Perfect. Put a nice pick in your eye.
The lobotomy left her unable to walk or speak. Rosemary was sent to a home for mentally ill, where she remained for the rest of her life until she passed away in 2005.
That breaks my little heart.
Jo told the world that she had gone into a coven to teach, and the family were forbidden to even mention her again.
Jo, my guy.
How did you know he was next? Oh.
No, you were talking about Jo.
Jo Jr.
Oh, okay.
And I got real scared.
Yeah, no, I'm not that psychic.
That psychic. Jo Jr. is next. Jo was handpicked for presidency by his father. Obviously, it didn't work out. Jo Jr. was killed on August 12th. That's my birthday. 1944.
I don't think you were there for that, though.
Nope. He was flying a secret and dangerous mission in World War II. He had volunteered for the mission, which was called Project Anvil, to impress his father, but the gesture cost him his life when his plane, packed with high explosives, blew up in midair.
Oh no, was it, I assume, gunned down? Like, that's what caused the explosion. It wasn't just like a fucked up mistake. Or it could have been a fucked up mistake.
You never know. Witnesses describe an enormous orange fireball as wings and engines flew out of the sky, and a boom so loud that it shattered windows for miles.
That's scary. Have you ever heard a sonic boom?
Yeah, that's what it made me think about.
I will not forget the first time I heard a sonic boom. I was at my friend Sheila's house.
It's really weird.
We were on the computer playing Barbie on her PC, and it was maybe 2 weeks after 9/11 had happened, and it was like the loudest boom. I think it was like some fucking jet for some reason went fast enough to break the sound barrier, but the house shook. Like, her parents made us get in the basement.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, it was a whole thing.
I know this isn't called sonic boom, but what's that thing called when you hear something late? It'll be like an explosion, but it doesn't happen with the...
Well, I think that just depends on the distance that you are from it, because the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
Can you imagine something that can go faster than the speed of sound?
I really can't. It's really scary.
And we don't have a cure for cancer?
We
don't have a cure for cancer?
We sure do. The government is withholding it.
Oh, God. We're going to get shut down if we keep talking shit.
I can't help that I know things.
Don't tread on me.
I'm saying. And what they do is... they
read the history book once.
To be crazy. They make you out to be crazy so people don't, listen to you. That's what they did to people in the olden times.
In ye old days.
Ye olden days.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. For sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I saw this video on Facebook. I wish I sent it to you. It was scary.
Did it have anything to do with anything, or just like a thought that came to you?
It could. No, not really, but...
Wait, what?
So, basically, it was this woman. I don't know what happened to her. She had scratches on her face. No one really knows. The video starts off with her. It's this guy in a bus, and he's filming her. And she's just, she's just, saying weird stuff. Like, I think she had a mental illness, but also, it was, the stuff that she was saying, it was,
She could have been on drugs.
That, too, but it was, the stuff she was saying was kind of she's right.
What was she saying? Oh, no.
She said something about Yahweh.
Oh, okay.
But it's just she was saying it's some real demonic shit. And I was like...
Where's the lie, sister?
And I was home alone and I was like...
Gonna X on out of there.
Okay, I just got really off topic.
That's all right. That's what we do.
So
It was my fault. My beehole.
Joe and his co-pilot were killed in an instant, and no trace of the body was ever found because the government took it.
Also, how are you supposed to find a trace of a body?
Yeah, right.
If something explodes
exploded.
and then falls from the sky.
This is how smart I am. I thought like I should put that in there as if it was like.
Well, I mean, maybe he wasn't even in the plane. Maybe he's still alive and hiding.
So, August 9th, 1963, JFK and Jackie Kennedy lose a child. Patrick Bouvier Kennedy died of an...
Kennedy.
I need to make sure I say it.
I love it.
Because my mouth doesn't open.
Sure it does.
I'm like a very lazy talker.
The bare minimum. That's okay.
But it's only when I'm reading. Okay, so he died of infant respiratory distress syndrome. Previously called hyaline membrane disease. I wish I kept it like that because that's easier to say. 2 days after his premature birth, Jackie was not aware of her baby's death until days later due to him being flown out to Boston to try to save him. This would ultimately save the lives of millions of infants by bringing the funding and attention to the study of the neonatal care of preterm babies. So JFK funded that.
As fucked up as it is, like, that shit shouldn't happen. But for it to have, like, started something like that.
Yeah.
For, like, millions of kids for the future.
Right, exactly.
A fucked up blessing in disguise.
Now we have Jack. Do you know who Jack is?
JFK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because John or Jack is a nickname for John.
Yeah.
But only if it's like John, like John.
Oh, really?
You can call me Jack. I'm a jack of all trades. Nice to meet ya. And if it's not funny, it's not worth Jack.
My friend's
Family
name
Guy.
is Jake, and his
Jake.
real name is John.
You should ask him about that.
John, take up Dinkelheimer. Isn't it? No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So Money and the mob had both played their role in putting Jack in the White House, but it was Joe's ambition that drove everything. It all came to a shocking end in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963, as he rode with his wife, Jackie, in an open-top car. Rifle shots fired out, and Jack's head was the target. "Oh my God," cried Jackie as her husband fell into her lap. "I have his brains in my hands." She later was asked if she would like to change out her bloody-stained clothes, but she declined, saying, "No, let them see what they have done." The official report named Lee Harvey Oswald as the killer, but evidence suggests otherwise. He was shot 2 days later, giving claims of conspiracy. My favorite.
Do you know about the babushka lady? Look up the babushka lady.
Is it scary?
No, she's in the Zapruder film.
Lady.
She's in the Zapruder film where everybody's ducking and hitting the ground because they hear.
And she's like.
And she's just standing there. Nobody knows who she is. Like, she's never been identified. And she was the only person who was standing. It's really creepy if you've never heard of her. Check her out. She could have just been, like, senile and, like, not known what was going on, but.
She had sunglasses on, too. It's just, like, very, very sketchy behavior.
Mm-hmm.
We're on to you.
Did you see the, or you heard of the Mandela effect with how many people were in that car? Because I only remember it being like a normal convertible.
2 people.
Oh, no, there wasn't just 2 people in the car.
There was like...
How many people? I think it was 4 because there's actually 3 rows in that car. It was like a limousine style.
So,
yeah, see, it's like
4.
It's 3 benches. No, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Never mind, there's 6.
Oh, shit, 1, 2, 3. Oh, shit, true.
Is there 6? I don't know, but it's like... But I think that's a Mandela effect because your brain fills in the gap that there should only be
2.
Yeah, because it's
4.
not the actual size of a normal car. It's like stretched out.
Yeah. We cracked the code.
Did you ever watch that film?
Which one?
The Zapruder film.
Oh.
No. It's fucked up. You just like see his head explode. I can't believe you've never seen it. They made us watch it in 8th grade, and this girl, Carolyn Browers, had to go in the hall. She was fucking dramatic. She was like the lead in Grease. She was my good friend. So if you're listening to this girl, hey, but like tone it down.
Okay, so we're moving on to Robert. Robert was assassinated June 6, 1968 just after winning the California Democratic primary. There had been threats on his life from the start. This is a quote from a family friend. I don't know who. It's just a quote. He is never going to make it to the White House. Somebody's going to shoot him. You know it, and I know it. He's out there now waiting. That was really creepy.
Sure was.
That prediction proved to be accurate when Bobby was shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. Sirhan was convicted of his murder. Eyewitness testimony.
Sorry, we have a fire station down the street from us, so if you hear that...
Sirhan was convicted of his murder, but eyewitness testimony and forensic evidence suggests there were other people involved. There were said to be too many bullets for one gun.
Naturally, there's some shit going on there. Raises eyebrow.
All right. The death of RFK's son, David Kennedy, April 25th, 1984. David Kennedy, the fourth of RFK's 11 children, died in a Florida hotel room after overdosing on cocaine, painkillers, and psychedelics. Patrick Kennedy has claimed that David suffered from PTSD following his father's death.
That's an intense way to go. Holy shit. Why'd he have to take all of them?
RFK's sixth child, Michael Kennedy, dies December 31st, 1997.
Sound it out. They're numbers.
I can't. Why is it so hard to read when I'm talking into this microphone?
I don't know.
Like, if I was just, like, reading like this, it would be fine. But since I'm talking, I'm, like,
because you're
focusing
positioned
on the mic than the words. Okay. Next one is the death of RFK's sixth child, Michael Kennedy. He died December 31st, 1997. He was killed in a skiing accident in Colorado. A lot of people die like that.
In skiing accidents?
Yeah.
That's too scary.
I feel like that's just what people say.
In a skiing accident.
Like, doesn't
like
it
Sonny,
sound so like...
Sonny and Cher.
Exactly.
That's how he died.
Skiing.
Yeah, but you could easily die skiing. That shit's dangerous.
That's true.
I used to play the snowboarding game.
Don't do it. Relax. Don't do it.
What's it called? Black Diamond. Those are scary.
The Black Diamond slope?
Yeah, don't do them.
No, why would you do that?
I don't know. I'm good with like a nice hot cocoa in the cabin.
I'm saying.
Maybe put some Baileys in it. Ooh.
Oh, cute. Witchy. What is it? Cute, but make it witchy.
Love it.
Robert Kennedy's wife died May 16th, 2012. Mary Kennedy, they call him the estranged wife of Robert Kennedy Jr. She was found after reportedly hanging herself at her New York home.
Yikes.
We have Ted Kennedy. He never made a serious bid for the White House, but instead he was content with a career in the Senate. When he asked why he would not run, he said, "Because I know I'm going to get my ass shot off, and I don't want to."
He fucking knows.
So his
That's
career...
me in gym class. They're like, "Why won't you run?" I'm like, "Because I fucking don't want to, okay?"
His career was ruined when he drove his car off a bridge at the Chapa, killing Mary Jo Kopinich. He did not report the accident until 9 hours after the event, and the diver who discovered the body said that Mary Jo could have been saved if he had called earlier.
Because he was fucked up.
Right. So he pleaded guilty to the charge against him, but he walked away with just a 2-month sentence.
Yeah. Fuck out of here.
Fuck out of here, boy. Now we have John Jr. He was tragically killed when his private plane crashed into the sea in 1999.
Damn, they really do got bad luck.
The aircraft fragmented when it hit the water, and, quote, when you have a fragmentation on the aircraft and you have fragmentation on the water, Richard Bunker, which is an investigator, says it's not a pretty sight.
I bet the frick not.
The official blamed pilot error for the incident, but there are those who believe that John was murdered to prevent him from reopening the investigation into the murder of his father. And that concludes the Kennedy curse.
You have to wonder, though, because of how much money, power, knowledge,
Right.
insider
there was some
information
shit
they
going
have.
on.
You have to wonder if were they cursed? Was it bad luck?
Did they know
or-
too much?
Yeah, or were people out to kill them because they either knew too much or they were doing things in the White House that certain higher powers, possibly out of the country, didn't want
True.
us to be doing at the time?
Seriously.
Or was it creating headlines to turn our eyes away from what was really happening? Innocent broke
I would
kids.
honestly never ever want to live the life like a celebrity lives, or like an Instagram public figure. Like, I wouldn't want that for myself.
It's hard.
I just want to make money like low key.
Yeah, take it from me. It's hard out here.
I love that.
All right, so my story is the Rockefeller family curse. So a lot of this information came from Weird History, Ranker, and Graveyard Shift, along with the other sources that are, as always, cited in the show notes. So
Cite me, daddy.
let's begin, because we just need to, let me readjust. So William A. Rockefeller, or Bill, was a traveling salesman who conned people, pretending to be deaf and mute in hopes to gain people's trust and sympathy from his buyers. So, this family's fate is off to a good start. He was basically, do you remember that episode, or that game we played in one of the episodes?
Yes.
We played with Britt. Remember that was Snake Oil? The name of the game was Snake Oil. So you have to sell something that people don't need, but you just have to be a good salesman.
Was it from him?
Well, essentially, he was like the first snake oil salesman.
Okay.
So he didn't actually sell snake oil, but he basically was just selling people shit that they didn't need. Or if he was selling people shit, he was lying about it. He was like selling pills for ailments that they didn't cure. It was like aspirin or something. And he was like, yes, this will cure your gay son.
Ooh.
So people referred to him as Devil Bill. He even stated himself, quote, "I do business deals with my sons and try to cheat them to make them sharp." So yeah, that's kind of shitty, but you're making them sharp, right?
It's all for something, right?
So in 1849, he was indicted for raping a girl in Cayuga, and he took on the title Dr. Williams Livingston, even though bitch was not a doctor at all. So he's just kind of adding on to the skill set of being a conman, a liar, an asshole, and a rapist.
Love that.
It's going to be on his Tinder profile.
Wasn't it?
So Bill went on to have a son, John D. Rockefeller, and then he had himself a mistress and multiple children by other women, and he was pretty much an all-around shitty guy. After that fucker died in 1870, Bill's son, John D. Rockefeller, joined the oil hunt. He built an oil refinery next to a new railroad that went across the country. He was one of the first to export kerosene, which at the time was highly popsicle. I almost just said popsicle.
You did say popsicle.
Fuck.
You said it. Highly popsicle.
Okay. So kerosene was highly popular because, obviously it was used in oil lamps and it burned clean. Smoke up in this bitch. So by age 25, his oil refinery was one of the largest in the world.
It's just, let's face it, you literally have to be a shitty person.
Yeah. I'm 25 and I can't even make an orthodontist appointment to fix my fucking permanent retainer.
I'm
so
26.
I can't eat apples because my permanent retainer is broken and I'm too nervous to call.
I'm about to call for you.
I really should get that taken care
And
of.
be like, they'll be like, your voice has changed. And you could be like,
yeah,
it has. What a wonderful world.
Oh, God. So basically, by cutting out the competition, his oil became one of the first oil monopolies. Though John D. Rockefeller considered himself to be an abolitionist, he wanted to play no part in taking up arms in the Civil War. So instead, he hired soldiers to go and fight on his behalf. That was not an uncommon practice for rich people. But in 1880, or in the 1880s at some fucking point, John D. Rockefeller controlled over 90% of all the oil in the United States. Bitch.
So he's like Rockefeller Center, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. So then in 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the oil monopoly illegal fucking thank God
Yeah,
they made
people were
monopolies
probably
illegal
killing
because
each other for this.
yeah. God only knows how powerful the Rockefellers would be today had that not become a law. So before John D. Rockefeller died in 1937, he became the single wealthiest person in U.S. history.
At 25.
No. This was before he died.
Okay.
This is like he's gone through his life. He died in 1937. And by the time he died, he had become the wealthiest person in U.S. history with a worth of approximately 1.5% of the U.S. GPD, which in today's economy is roughly equivalent to $340 billion. Billion with a B.
I'm about to literally take everything on this table and flip it over.
And then start digging underneath it for oil. I'm with you, sister. We're already in a basement. We're, 7 feet there already?
7 sisters.
Let's do it. However, John D. Rockefeller did not die with no evil undone. So in the late 1800s, areas of the Rocky Mountains had veins of coals close to the surface of the land.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, exactly. Provided significant and, relatively accessible reserves. And at its peak in 1910, the coal mining industry of Colorado employed 15,864 people, accounting for 10% of those employed in the state. So it was like a big fucking deal. So Colorado's coal industry was dominated by a handful of operators. The Colorado Fuel and Iron was the largest coal operator in the West, as well as the nation's most powerful corporations. At one point, it employed 7,050 people. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it fucking does. And it also controlled 71,837 acres of coal land. So the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company was purchased by, guess who, bitch? I'll tell you.
Rockefeller, bitch.
J.D. Rockefeller in 1902. So obviously, mining was dangerous and difficult work. The coal miners in Colorado were at constant risk for explosion, suffocation, and collapsing mine walls. I'm not trying to die while I'm working, okay? That's all I'm trying to say. So many miners resided in company-owned towns. So basically, these company-owned towns, it's what it sounds like.
I think I went to a coal mining tour once, and that's how it was. It was like literally houses.
Yeah.
And it was like for the coal mine workers. Yeah.
Yeah. And like basically it was the town that was owned by the company they worked for. The amenities were owned by the mine operator, John D. Rockefeller. And
Thanks for reminding me.
they were basically designed to create loyal workers. So it sounded like, hey, we'll
Loyal
create
workers, you about to die.
We'll create this town that you can live in.
For free.
But
Was it free?
I don't think it was free, but I think it was a lot cheaper. But
You gotta die.
it's not just that they have to die, but it's just like if you get fired, you're going to be out on the streets and you're going to have to find another place to live and nobody could fucking afford anything.
Is it true?
So,
I'm like so off topic here. I'm like, you're gonna die, yeah.
well, they could, wait till you hear what happens. The ownership of the town provided, the companies had considerable control over all aspects of the workers' lives, even like when they weren't working, obviously.
Love that.
And they did not always use power to augment public welfare. So the law consisted of the company rules. Curfews were imposed. Can you imagine? I'd be so fucking annoyed. You can't even be outside trying to walk down the street.
How are you gonna tell me when I could go to sleep?
Because it's their owned land.
Okay,
yeah.
well,
It's yep. Mm-hmm. So
next,
company
somewhere else.
company guards were hired. They were brutal thugs who were armed with machine guns and rifles loaded with soft point bullets.
Yeah, see, no, I'm moving out.
So miners, some people didn't have a choice because the wives and the children were living there too. These were like families, not just the men who were living there. So miners who came into conflict with the company would find themselves and their families evicted from their homes. And the pay was also not worth the fucking work or the safety risks associated with mining. So what happens when we have this situation? What do you think happens?
People rival.
There you go. Rival? I'll take it. So every family on strike was evicted from the company-owned housing. So these people, it was pretty much almost all these people in this town. They like got together. They were like, hey, let's fight the man, John D. Rockefeller, because he can't get any mining done if none of us are going to work.
Oh, that's what you thought.
So they basically got forced out of their homes and they made a tent colony in Ludlow, Colorado, to continue the strike. So the men lived there with their wives and children and often dug holes beneath the tents for extra storage and extra room. Then on April 20th, 1913, one day after Easter, under the command of Colorado Fuel and Iron Company at John D. Rockefeller's appoint, guards surrounded the tent colony and opened fire. So the gunshots rang out pretty much all day, and when they stopped, the violence didn't. Many mine camp guards drenched the family tents in kerosene before lighting a match, burning the families alive. So during the battle,
that's disgusting.
4 women and 11 children had been hiding in a pit beneath one of the larger tents. They were trapped when the tent above them caught on fire. 2 of the women and all of the children suffocated. A total of 55 women and children died, in addition to the numerous men who were on strike. John D. Rockefeller testified that even he claimed he didn't know what was going on, even though they were at his appoint.
Goodbye.
He claimed that even after knowing his guards had murdered the strikers and their families, he would have taken no action to prevent the tragedy.
So why are you even speaking about it?
That's what I'm saying. But bitch, that's not all. In 1918, the Rockefeller Foundation helped create the Eugenics Society of Sao Paulo, directly financing programs aimed at breeding out the poor and disabled, making everyone
That's
else
what they're trying to do now.
in Brazil pretty much, white. So the idea of social Darwinism was widespread among Brazil's leading scientists, educators, social thinkers, as well as many elected officials. And the Rockefeller Foundation played a huge role in implementing what was called the, quote, public health movement in Brazil, which again, was pretty much breeding everyone to be white.
That's what they're doing now.
Their slogan was, and I quote,
Make America great again.
to sanitize is to eugenize.
History repeats itself.
That's some fucking Aryan Nation bullshit right there.
Oh my God. I just can't.
So his son, Dr. John D. Jr., commonly referred to as Junior, so that's what I'm going to call him. He was born in 1874. He was the youngest of 5 children. So why did fucking people have so many kids back then?
I think it was because
Y'all
they
couldn't
had
afford.
big
Well, I
enough
mean, I guess
houses.
these people could afford it, but I mean, even like the people who couldn't afford it, they were just popping them out, pop, pop, pop.
My eyes are really itchy.
Itch 'em, girl.
I really don't know why people had so many kids.
So many kids.
Like I don't know. Why
I guess if you have a farm, it makes sense if you need helping
that
hands.
is true. But other than that, you're canceled.
Yeah. Swallow. Just swallow. Did they swallow back then? I don't even know.
Probably
So
not. Probably.
Junior joined the Standard Oil in 1897, but he left the company in 1910 to pursue philanthropy. So let me just kind of say that it sounds good, right? It sounds like a good thing, but technically what they were doing with the eugenics thing in Brazil would be classified in a way as philanthropy, because they were doing a fucked up twist on it and saying, we're helping the world, we're helping the people, but they weren't upfront about it being like
saying,
social Darwinism and fucking like
it was demonic.
whitewashing anyway.
I
So
can't believe that.
this was another common thing with a lot of the Rockefellers. They donated a lot of money and a lot of time they spent as philanthropists. Oh, look at that. I made a note of it, which in theory is good unless you descend from a family that donates money to eugenics and consider, the philanthropy I'm talking about. But I digress. So he gave, this is Junior, $537 million to various causes in his lifetime. Hi, I'm a cause.
Right. I'm a cause. Hello?
So Junior oversaw the development of Rockefeller Center, which is the 14-building Art Deco campus in Midtown Manhattan. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you've seen it.
Never been there.
You've never been there?
Nope.
I went ice skating there. They got a
I
big
was
old
making
fucking...
a joke.
Oh. They got a big old fucking Christmas tree.
Yeah, that's where they decorate for Christmas. Kermit.
That's where that thing came from. She was at the Christine Sudelko.
I
The
love
Mary
that.
Chrysler. That was the...
Listen to our podcast, girl.
Yeah, I'll be sure to text her. So he and his wife, Abigail Green Aldrich, had 5 children. Here we go again.
Not bad.
But they could afford it. So now let's jump to the year 1928. Winifred Rockefeller, which was John D. Jr.'s niece, was sent to Westover School, and she was a member of the Junior League. She was introduced to the New York High Society at a Colony Club reception. As she grew older, Winifred was active in social circles and, due to her high status and last name, was put in the limelight. She married husband Brooks Emeny.
Are any of these people good people?
Winifred's like, not Winnie. So the wedding of such a socialite was such a big deal that the New York Times described her gown and her wedding in detail. She had like pages in the fucking newspaper and
Love
shit. If they had Daily Mail back then, I'm sure she would have been on the front of that. So what I'm saying here is like it was bougie as fuck and a lot of people cared. She was like a Kardashian kind of.
Okay.
Smaller butt.
Winifred.
But in 1950, Winifred had been sent to a sanatorium for a nervous disorder that nobody went into detail about because back then they probably didn't know what it was, or maybe. I literally couldn't find like details on what it could possibly be.
Yeah.
But the following year, she returned home, placed her 2 young daughters in the back seat of her car before rolling down the windows, sitting in the front seat herself. She closed the garage door and started the car in the garage, committing murder and suicide with her young children in the car.
She said, "That's it."
Yeah. So in 1961, this is a different one. Michael C. Rockefeller. He was the great nephew of John D. Jr. and the son of Nelson A. Rockefeller, who, bitch, we'll get back to him. In October of 1961, Michael Rockefeller went to a remote island of New Guinea to gather some artwork for the Museum of Primitive Art, which was actually opened by his father, Nelson. So the island was filled with indigenous people, and there's a bunch of photos of Michael with the people on this island that you can find online. He was actually there for a few months with a small film crew who were trying to make a documentary about the, people who were on this island. The people were standoffish, as anybody would when a white man in a suit comes on into your unbothered island. But overall, they got along for the months that they were there. And it's reported that Michael wasn't really trying anything, that he was actually into philanthropy and he was about learning about these people because these are the type of people who literally live off the land on an island.
Right.
So months later, Michael returned to New Guinea with one other philanthropist, Renee Wasman, but to a different part of a different island near the Asmat tribe, which is a totally different tribe than the one he met before, unbeknownst to him. On November 21st, 1961, Michael and Renee were accompanied by 2 local guests on a boat. There's conflicting reports that one of them, half of them saying that their motor boat, the motor on the boat died. I didn't want to say motorboat. It seemed inappropriate. So either the motor died or the boat flipped over. Either way, Michael Rockefeller disappeared that day. The official cause of death was listed as drowning, but the rumors came out about a much worse, more gruesome death.
Oh.
Now, this is going to sound, of course, it's speculated.
Right.
Or is it? So,
well, who
this
lived?
is going to sound really far-fetched when I say it, but just wait till I explain maybe some proof at the end. So in 1969, while investigating the case, journalist Carl Hoffman discovered a white man had recently been put in charge and on this island, and under his command, let me clarify. Carl Hoffman discovered that a white man had been put in charge in the second islands that Michael was going to, that he didn't make it to quite yet.
Oh, right.
So this wasn't with the nice people, this is with the other people, and apparently this under the white guy, his command, 5 Aborigines on the island were gunned down and like murdered. So when Michael arrived, their world was out of balance to the Aboriginal Asmats, and actually they did research in their spirituality, and they think about like the unbalance in their world. If a white man gunned down their people, they then would take vengeance on white man.
Oh, shit.
So, they were a notoriously violent tribe who believed in headhunting and cannibalism. So, Michael didn't know this. His colleagues and friends who he spoke to can confirm that he knew a lot about New Guinea and stuff, but they never heard anything about this. But
Right.
It actually is a fact that this tribe where his boat crashed were these type of cannibals. Hoffman believes that after swimming to shore from his boat, Rockefeller encountered the men of the Asmat. Frustrated over their changing world, the Asmats tortured Rockefeller as a chance to restore balance. Reportedly, his ribs were broken with an axe and blood smeared all over the Asmats' bodies, arms, and legs. They cut off his arms
Wow.
and legs. They charred his body parts and ate his brain. So Hoffman brought his findings forward to the Dutch government. They denied allegations. Hoffman further provided details in his book Savage Harvests with his proof of his theory that Michael Rockefeller was tortured and eaten by cannibals. In some of his book, they actually look it up online because he has like documents from the Dutch government that say certain things. Like it's very like low key language, but it's kind of just like keep him under wraps. Like let's not talk about the cannibals who ate him. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the Dutch government was allegedly trying to like cover this shit up because they didn't want anything to do with the Rockefellers coming after them and shit. And I'm sure there was some other stuff under the table and stuff. So, yeah, nothing like a Rockefeller risotto. Just gonna eat those brains.
I love risotto.
Me too. So let's bounce back to Michael's father. So Nelson Rockefeller, he had a long, successful political career. Maybe you've heard of him. Prior to becoming the vice president in 1974, he served as the 49th governor of New York for 14 years. As a father of 5, Rockefeller divorced his first wife in 1963, which at the time was majorly taboo.
Yeah.
Especially for politicians.
Right.
Like we know that, JFK was eating that Marilyn Monroe pie, but like they were doing it under the covers. So he also had a reputation for being a womanizer. He remarried in 1963 to his second wife. Guess what her name was? Happy. Bitch.
'Cause I'm happy.
Stop
she could
it.
have totally sang that.
She could have.
Like introduced herself.
If it wasn't 1963.
Right.
She was 18 years younger than him.
Ooh, okay.
So Nelson Rockefeller then lost the 1964 Republican presidential nomination, and it's been speculated that his divorce and second marriage may have something to do with it. It's quite possible. In 1972, he was governor of New York. While he was governor of New York, he set the National Guard loose on rioting inmates at Attica Prison, which left 39 fucking people dead. 10 of them were innocent hostages.
Yikes.
And then he explained it away while talking with President Richard Nixon by saying, according to the New York Times, quote, "That's life." It is assumed that he continued to be a womanizer into his old age because when he died of a heart attack in 1979, he was in the same room with a 25-year-old female assistant, Megan Marshak, who mysteriously waited a whole hour before she called for help. He was a fucking asshole. He would give the finger to like the press. He just like to get a rise out of people. He's just like a total scumbag asshole.
Well, that's probably why she waited an hour. She was probably like, "Die, bitch! I hope you're dead."
So
if you're not, I'm gonna kill you.
The media stated that Nelson Rockefeller died doing what he loved, which in early reports were saying that he was working hard at his desk in Rockefeller Center. He collapsed on a book about art. Oh. This is what they're putting out there in the universe.
So wholesome.
Yeah. Which is where he was found by security slumped over a desk. But in the 1980s, the truth was allegedly leaked when journalist Alan McDowell stated that he met the then 25-year-old Megan Marshak, who was 25 when he died, who filled him in on the truth about the heart attack. He died while in between her thighs. Later, Nelson's longtime aide, Joseph Persico, confirms the affair. So I guess her pussy was to die for.
I love that.
Thank you. So then in 1978, Nelson's brother, John D. Rockefeller III, was killed in a car accident at age 72. At the time, he was a philanthropist, and he was the oldest member of the Rockefeller family. John D. III was being driven by a secretary when they struck in a head-on collision near Mount Pleasant, New York, just 12 miles north of the family's estate. Tragically, the 16-year-old boy who had been driving the other car was also killed in the crash. I think his secretary and another woman who was in a car behind them were injured, but they survived. But not so much for John D. Rockefeller III. And then you think the crazy shit's over, bitch. There's the crazy shit involving Clark Rockefeller. Are you ready, baby? In 2008, 47-year-old Clark Rockefeller and his wife, Sandra Boss.
Sounding like you're saying Clark.
I
know.
Clark Rockefeller, his wife, Sandra Boss, and their 7-year-old daughter, Ray, lived in a Beacon Hill neighborhood in Boston. For a year and a half, the family had lived in a $2.7 million 4-story ivy-covered townhouse on one of the best streets, until one day it all changed when 7-year-old Ray was kidnapped. 2008.
See? This is what happens when you're powerful.
So, baby, strap on because the story's going to start taking a weird turn. And it actually starts back in the 1980s with a different family. So, Jonathan Sohos lived in San Marino, California in the mid-1980s. He was a mama's boy. He was nerdy. He was heavily into sci-fi and fantasy. And he met Linda Sohos. Well, her last name wasn't Sohos at the time, but you see where this is going. So, to their friends,
Sure do.
they were an odd couple. But, you know, they say opposites attract. They were interested in different things. He came from a different social group, but, you know, the two married Halloween 1983. So John and Linda, who have nothing to do with the Rockefellers just yet, they lived in a large home with Jonathan's mother, Dee Dee. I love that name. Let's bring that back.
Dee.
And so it was them three who lived together with the mom. No judgments.
Do we know how the mom has money? You said in a large house?
No, but they did have a house, like a guest house that was being rented out by a man.
Okay.
So it was like a guest house that was further back in their backyard. My friend had a guest house. We used to call it the Ho Hut, and it literally had like a kitchen and like a little bedroom and a fucking. It was like next to her pool too, so I guess it was a pool house.
Right.
It had like a little porch outside, sliding glass doors. Yo, we used to get fucked up in there when we were younger.
I love that. I want a pool house.
We used to watch James and the Giant Peach and get fucked up and swim.
James and the Giant Perch.
So the couple had planned a road trip together along with one of their good friends whose name was Sue. So they planned on driving to Phoenix, Arizona to a sci-fi convention. But in 1985, Linda called Sue and told her that they were going to New York because Jonathan had an interview for a government position, but they would return in 2 weeks, making it, you know, before the sci-fi convention, but they never returned. So Sue called Jonathan's mom, Dee Dee, who was a known drunk, and Dee Dee claimed that her son and daughter-in-law were in Paris, France. So Sue's like, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? They never told me about Paris, France. I said they were going to New York for a government job.
Right.
So Linda had abandoned her cats at a pet motel, which was something very out of character for her. It was like your cat to you was her cat's to her.
I love Charlie.
So the next day, Linda's family filed a missing persons report. When the police went to Jonathan's mother, Dee Dee, again, she was drunk and told them the couple was in Paris for a job interview that was top secret. An officer knocks on the door of the guest house to speak to the tenant, and the man answered the door butt naked.
Love that.
Also,
hey, sir. Hey,
is it
officer.
butt naked or buck? What did we agree on?
Butt.
Okay.
Because your butt is naked.
But buck naked. Give me a buck.
That's $1.
Sure is. For $2, I'll let you see both holes.
Oh.
So
Where's the other one?
I don't know, but either way, however you want to say it, potato, rumple foreskin, it was out there for everyone to see.
Nasty.
So
That's
the man
bad.
from the guest house, his name was Christopher Chichester. I keep doing that snap thing.
I love that.
Thank you. So he had no idea where Linda or Jonathan had gone. He pretty much kept to himself. He said he didn't really talk to them that much. Dee Dee was like, yeah, he doesn't really talk to us, but he pays his rent on time and he's a normal dude. So then Sue had received a postcard from Jonathan and Linda. The postcard had the Eiffel Tower on the back and was authentically stamped from Paris. So it said within the postcard that they were away voluntarily, but due to the secrecy of the government job, they couldn't reveal anything else. They were like, we're going to try our best to get back for the sci-fi convention, but don't know if we can. Don't let us hold you up.
Right.
So Sue was suspicious, but the police saw no foul play. You know, it was two.
Sue was the
friend.
Linda's.
Sue was Linda's friend. It was supposed to be the three of them. Jonathan, Linda, Sue were supposed to go to the sci-fi convention, and you know, the police were just like, no foul play. It's two consenting adults. They're in Paris. You have a letter from them. There's no sign of anything. So they literally couldn't do anything. But a few weeks later, in July of 1985, Dee Dee called the police saying the guest in her house, Christopher Chichester, had also disappeared. So she tells police that it was Christopher who had actually informed her about John and Linda's secret interview in Paris. So she had never heard it from her son or daughter-in-law, that it was the tenant in the guest house who said that they were going to Paris. So police...
Wait, so...
When the cops had originally came to her, she was just like, yeah, they went to Paris. They told me they did. And they were like, okay.
Where did she get that information from?
Now she's changing it because she's drunk and she's saying, well, they didn't tell me. It was the tenant who told me.
Okay.
So the police get in contact with some of Christopher's friends who had no idea about his disappearance. So according to his close friends, Christopher was a film student at USC. He had moved from England to pursue his dreams of filmmaking, and he was actually a baronet. So he was, a descendant of some sort of royalty.
Whoa.
Not exactly up to bat to sit in the throne, but other than that, they found themselves at a dead end in the investigation. So Christopher, Jonathan, and Linda were nowhere to be found. Dee Dee unfortunately died of natural causes years later, never knowing what happened to her son and daughter-in-law. In May 1994, 10 years, bitch, after the disappearance of Christopher, Jonathan, and Linda, new tenants had moved into the house, which had sat empty. They dug up the backyard, began constructing an in-ground pool, and that's when the police were called. Sure was. They had discovered a body. Upon further investigation, it was identified to be the body of Jonathan Sohos. He had suffered major blows to the head and 6 stab wounds in the back. Police searched the rest of the yard and found nothing else. But inside the guest house, they did find 4 large blood spots. However, without proper forensics at the time, investigators were not able to identify who the blood came from. They weren't even able to differentiate if it was animal blood or human blood.
How?
So Christopher Chichester and Linda Sohos were still missing. So let's fast forward back to 2008 when this suspicious guy named Christopher Crow pops up. He's living near Boston.
Sounds sus.
He's living near Boston, and the truck that was owned by Jonathan and Linda Sohos was found in his possession. He claimed to be a television producer from Los Angeles who had worked on the 1980s remake of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. A quick look at IMDb, story seems to check out until you find out, baby. Christopher Crow is actually Christopher Chichester.
Oh?
And he had been impersonating someone else, !
Wow.
But what about the kidnapping of 7-year-old Ray Rockefeller? Well, she was kidnapped by her father, Clark Rockefeller, after his wife was dragging him through the mud during their divorce. Her reason for divorce? Well, Clark seemed really fucking shady. All the years they had been together, he kept a lot of secret. He was claiming it was because of his family's last name. He couldn't be seen out in public, this, that, and the other thing. They lived a pretty much low-key, detached life from the rest of the Rockefellers. She hired a private investigator who couldn't find a goddamn thing on him. They couldn't even trace a Clark Rockefeller to the Rockefeller family tree.
Oh,
that's because, bitch, Clark Rockefeller wasn't a Rockefeller at all. Clark Rockefeller was Christopher Chichester, whose name wasn't even Christopher Chichester. It was Christian Garnersteiner. He wasn't a baronet. He was actually a German immigrant and a con man who managed to keep up this fucking charade for decades. The cold case murder of Jonathan Sohos was cracked open again. When investigated further in 2008, the truth, bitch, was revealed. In 1985, Christian had borrowed a chainsaw from one of the neighbors when he was living out in the guest house in Rumpleforeskins. He returned it months later, and it was reportedly sparkling clean. When his body was discovered, Christopher's head was covered in 2 book bags. This fucking dumbass bitch. 2 book bags were over Jonathan's head. One of them had the USC logo on it, and the other was from the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, both of which Christian had attended under pseudonyms. So the jury deliberated briefly, found him...
All that time, they didn't know?
Yeah. They found him guilty on multiple charges, but between the forged social security numbers, the false identities, the murder, and Linda still missing, the kidnapping of his own daughter, who, by the way, is now safe living with her mother, Christian Gardnersteiner, is currently only facing 27 years in prison.
How?
Well, not currently. It was back then. So now that was 10 years ago. So now he's only facing 17 years. Hi, I'm good at math. So
I'm stressed out.
I know. And I know that that's technically not a Rockefeller, but if it's murder, I can't pass it up. If you really want details, like there's so much more. Vanity Fair wrote a really good article in 2008. You can find it online. It's called The Man in the Rockefeller Suit. It's really crazy and intense. So yeah, that was the only one that's not technically Rockefeller, but we have fun. So then in 2014, Dr. Richard Rockefeller, who was a real Rockefeller, was the son of David Rockefeller. Take a shot every time I say Rockefeller. Lived as many relatives did before him, a philanthropist. In the 65-year-old boarded his private plane in June of 2014 at the Westchester County Airport near his family's estate. Shortly after takeoff, the plane hit a patch of fog, which caused the plane to crash, ending his life on impact. So that's just a little taste of the dark history surrounding the Rockefeller family.
Whoa.
I know it's not all exactly a curse, but like they got some dark shit happen and they did some fucked up shit.
That's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm sweating. That was a lot.
Chest hurts.
The government. You're collapsing already.
I'm saying they heard me.
So what do you think?
Ooh, I think that it goes to show how unfit the forensic world was back then to like for someone to cover up all that and they didn't know. Mm-hmm. So you're saying Christopher Rockefeller was actually this Chippewa guy.
Clark Rockefeller, yes, was Christian, whatever, German last name.
And then was also somebody else.
He was multiple people. If you can watch a documentary on him, he has like multiple. There's more than those that I named.
Him and Linda had a baby, which is Ray.
Yes.
Okay.
And no, not Linda. No. Linda's still missing. Jonathan and Linda. Jonathan was murdered. Linda, they don't know what happened to her to this day.
Oh, he killed her. Duh.
So the woman he was married to, I forget, her last name is Boss because she's a boss. Sandra Boss. She was rich. That was how he had so much money.
Okay.
She was rich. She thought he was a Rockefeller. And then they had a kid who was 7 years old. And within those 7 years, she thought she was with a Rockefeller. And like never actually truly knew who he was. But also there was someone in there I didn't even mention because it wasn't like that.
Big of a deal.
Yeah, but he was married to another woman before that. So he had gotten away with murder. And he had married 2 different women and gone through different marriages and divorces under different pseudonyms, never telling anybody he was German, convincing his friends that he was, had royal blood in him. So, yeah, there's that.
Like, how do I get that smart?
He wasn't that smart, though, because he used a fucking USC book bag.
That's true.
He used his book bags from and they have pictures of them. And literally, both the universities he attended, they both had the logo on the book bag. And he used them to bury a body. In his backyard. He didn't even go anywhere. Homeboy just did it right there in the yard. It was in between him and the house. So, you got a fun fact? Hit me with the fun fact.
I don't have a fun fact. I guess I just stopped doing them.
All right, so my fun fact is paternophobia is the fear of feathers or being tickled by feathers. So, did you ever see the movie Tickled?
Well, I guess I have a tweet of the week, and it's like a fun fact, too, so I both.
Did you ever see the movie Tickled?
No.
Go watch it. It's not as gay as it seems, but if you liked my story about Clark Rockefeller and someone impersonating someone and a bunch of sketchy shit happening.
Matt Malona at Real Matt Malona says, in the last 18 years, Republicans have voted 9 times in favor of raising their own salary, raising it to a total of $99,000. In that same time, they've also voted 14 times against raising minimum wage and attempted 71 times to take away people's health care.
You heard it here, politically charged from people who
don't
really know who the president was in 1969.
True.
We like to be controversial, but my fun fact is from Rachel Peters' ex. Stop explaining yourself to people. You owe no one any explanation of what you do. Your life is yours, not theirs. 100% going to be transparent with you. Don't remember putting that as my fact. I was probably drunk and was inspired.
This is fine.
I was crying a lot in the past 2 weeks. So
I love you.
I love you too. Maybe that's what that is. So, yeah, thank you guys for sticking around even when we were gone and then we were late uploading.
Yeah.
We're going through some shit. So
I'm just a blossoming plant.
Blossoming plant.
I have no photosynthesis.
Speaking of, I brought one of my plants back from the dead.
I love that.
Let it be known.
Let it be.
Working on the other 17 that the ghost in my house has killed, but it's a working...
It's scary.
It's a working pork chops.
Love
If you
that.
guys like our show and you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/esoteric oddities. For those of you who are paying $5 or more, you got a new episode to go listen to. Our mouths make more noises, and you're not going to want to miss it. You're not going to want to miss
You're not gonna
a
want to miss
second of it.
this hot take.
Yeah. But if that's not your jam, that's totally fine. Tell your friends about us. Give us a rating. That's free. If you listen, especially on Apple Podcast. You ever heard of Apple Podcasts? Give us 5 stars. It helps us out.
So
and
hard
thank
to
you guys.
explain how to write reviews on the podcast.
Yeah, I just recently updated my phone. I should have updated it like a whole year ago, and I never did. But yeah, it's kind of like a weird setup now because it's not what I'm used to. But yeah, if you guys could give us 5 stars, it really fucking helps us out.
Please.
And tell your friends about us. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.